Thanks, Chip.
Thank you, Henri.
So first, as your host, a warm welcome to NetApp's Data Visionary Center and Founders Theater. Hopefully you'll enjoy the premises. And I saw there was a few beers that came in. I think there's more over there. Don't hesitate. No, seriously, it's really a pleasure for us to have you here today. Thanks to Mayank and Workspace. So just a quick introduction. You know, I'm running all of the field at NetApp. I've been here for 4 years. I came on board at the time where this was a company that you heard more about our death than about our success. You know, at the time we were number 5 in Flash. The public cloud was going to kill us. And here we are a few years later with a very different story. And I'm saying this because a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've been able to thrive in developing a good ecosystem to guarantee our future. I have been an ecosystem person from the very beginning of my career. I started by creating a VAR business in France that I successfully sold 40-some years ago. And then I went on to work for a distributor, publicly traded distributor in Europe, that needed somebody to take care of a small franchise at the time that was growing very fast called Intel. And then the rest is history. Then I went into the disk drive industry, and I always, you know, when I first met George Kurian, our CEO, I said, you know, it's funny because I kind of started my career in storage, and I'm finishing it in storage. At both ends of those spectrum, storage was strategic, and in the middle, it became a commodity somehow. But I'd like to think that today we're not talking about storage, we're talking about data, and we all know that data is very strategic. I then did a stint at AMD, and yeah, ironically, after being a very large Intel distributor. And you know, that was probably where I learned the most about the necessity to have a strong ecosystem, because when you're fighting somebody that's 6 to 7 times your size, and that has the power to drag the entire industry, unless you have a few friends that want you to be successful, you can't succeed. And then, you know, NetApp. And so at NetApp, what was, of course, one of our crown jewel was this partnership with Cisco, right? And the fact that we created something that, by all measure, would have been an incredibly successful company. Think of, you know, the FlexPod business is a $3 billion business from a company that doesn't exist, that doesn't have product management, that doesn't have manufacturing. You know, by any measure, that's a very sizable business. And if you look at it over the period of 10 years, it's tens of thousands of customers and an incredible success. So a true demonstration of the value of the ecosystem. But probably, and something that I want to share with you because it's important to think about the implication, what's most interesting for me today in the need to create ecosystem environment around NetApp is this very different engagement model that we have with our friends at Google and Azure. We have a relationship with AWS, but there it's somewhat traditional. You can buy our software in their marketplace. But in the case of Microsoft and in the case of Google, what we've done is we've basically taken the 27 years of IP represented in ONTAP, our operating system, abstracted it entirely from our hardware, and deployed it in their cloud. And so the very thing that was supposed to kill us is the one that's actually propelling us to a very different stage of our history. But it's a complicated sales model. Because think of it this way. I have sellers, 3,000 of them, every day that get up and try to get a PO from a customer for, let's be honest, good old on-prem storage. By the way, since you liked the place, please buy some. It helps us pay for it. But, and so I'm telling these talented women and men, you know, the cloud is coming, and it's important for us to lean into the cloud, even if it means not selling on-prem equipment. And the way to do that is to make sure that at least you can compensate them on the good work that they would do promoting somebody else's product. The fact that it's technology and IP from NetApp, you know, is secondary to their income. So think of it that way. I have direct sellers that need to be in front of an account, and if the right thing for strategically advancing our agenda is to not sell a box, but to recommend for the customer to take that workload and put it into the cloud, I need them to do that. And it becomes really interesting when I add to this that I can't exactly tell them when the billing will be done, how much the billing will be, because I have to reconcile my account with the Azure account or the Google account. And there's also other interesting ethical question, which is, what should I do if through the sales motion that we have, for example, with Google, we land a very large account on our product and my account team never did anything about it? Do they have entitlement to whatever NetApp-based business happens in their customer or not? In other words, am I an OEM supplier of software to the hyperscalers? Or are they part of an ecosystem with varied, differentiated sales motion and path to market? So it's a very interesting, we have a lot of challenges. I'm just kind of giving you this for food for thought. But I'm counting on Mayank and his team to create the platform that will allow it to solve all my problems and track everything perfectly. But we are probably facing at NetApp, because of what we've done, one of the most complex ecosystem engagement model that the industry has to face. Because, of course, we all know about, let's take the Adobe story. Licensing, perpetual license to consumption. Not easy, but at least you can see the path. But for us, it's a very complex navigation. And then, of course, I could add to this, Equinix, the colo. So we are seeing an increasingly complex ecosystem around us, not from a technology standpoint, but from a business model, business tracking, engagement, account planning. And so I'm excited with the technologies that you're developing, the opportunity to partner with you. And I'm sure that you'll have a bunch of good conversation around maybe some of those challenges that I threw at you. Very exciting time for us at NetApp. Again, a company that most people think of as a storage supplier. And really what we are is a data management company that wasn't born into the cloud, but will thrive in the cloud. So thank you again for being here. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Mayank. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henri.
Absolutely. With pleasure.
Henri has tremendous experience being in the industry for too long. Being part of a reseller, a distributor, and then an OEM product like AMD through storage. So anybody has any questions around that?
Yes, sir.
That presents the challenges of compensation, go-to-market, so on and so forth for your field team. Where in that thought process are you today? Do you really think of that as requiring a separate field, or do you really need to unlock the overall field and figure out their incentive in that as well?
So in fairness, I would tell you that I don't think I have a good answer yet. But your question was, where are we in the process? So what we have elected to do is, first, of course, we are compensated our direct sellers for cloud-based business that we can identify. I always say to my sellers, it's my intention to pay commissions on every dollar of cloud business, but I can't guarantee that I will, because sometimes the reconciliation is difficult. What we've done in terms of deployment is we have a team that's dedicated to Microsoft. Team of, kind of think of them as advocates. And then we have a team dedicated to GCP, and we have a team dedicated to AWS, because in case you haven't noticed, they don't like each other that much. Ironically, our value to the end customer is we provide exactly the same technology in the three clouds. And very, very seamless and easy way to egress and the data. So they love us, but they don't like the fact that we facilitate that movement in a certain way. So these specialists are really focused on, first, full understanding of the stacks, and the go-to-market strategies of each of those hyperscalers, and really help educate their sellers, but also intervene at the end user with particular expertise on the NetApp storage capabilities. Right? I would tell you that my ideal scenario would be that I wouldn't have to worry about my sellers, my main enterprise class sellers. I would love to be able to reach all of my revenue objectives with really almost a pure OEM strategy, and that group of specialists that for each of those hyperscalers help them achieve their targets. I personally believe that the right model would be to say, look, you're in charge of a NetApp account, you're selling them on-prem equipment. It so happens that there's a big success on a cloud platform using our technology. I would recognize that success both financially and officially. And that's a lot easier than trying to mix and match CapEx and OpEx quotas and commissions. Because the reality is, I'll give you an example. So, my average seller carries a $6 million quota. We all know that if you take that amount of storage and you now express it into an MRR in a cloud platform, you're talking, what, $10,000, $15,000. And so when you carry $6 million of quota, to be motivated by $15,000 is, even if I put a 10x multiplier, who cares? Plus, even if you take care of their W-2, you always show red on the monthly and quarterly reports of your numbers, right? So it's the irony, right? With what is strategically intelligent, which is to not sell storage anymore, is actually extremely detrimental to the perception of success in a traditional on-prem hardware company. And so, my view is that it's better to go and reward the right behavior, extraneous from the comm system and the quota system, rather than to try to mix them into the same plan. That's, maybe if you ask me the question a year from now, it'll be different. But that's where I am right now, based on, as you can imagine, issues and problems that I've been encountering so far.
One last question from Ravi.
So that's not public information. So I'm sorry, but I'll parrot what we say to the analysts. So we believe that by the end of FY21, so think of the beginning of calendar 2022, it's a $400 to $600 million business for us. So it's very significant. What is public is just to give you a sense of the velocity. In the case of Azure NetApp Files, after 5 months of GA, we've onboarded 12 petabytes, and we are at about 15 customers a day.
Whoa.
Right? But there's a lot of people that are just testing the waters. But there's also some very big names that have moved some pretty significant estates. So it's very promising. Again, I don't want to steal too much of your time. Thanks again for being here, and enjoy the event.
Thank you.
Maya.